Hey, everybody, it's Thursday, and I'm really lucky today, Faith, because I'm doing this live from the Chateau on coffee shop here in Braselton, Georgia. We're focusing on Braselton today, kind of my hometown right now. I mean, Braselton is just a very cool place, and you're going to hear about the festivals and all the stuff going on. But I just want my friend Louis Agafago, he's French, in the spirit of Tour de France that's going on over there in France right now. I'm going to hand my headsets to Louis and just let him say a word, because if you come to Braselton, you're going to get French. You're going to get French. You won't get it anywhere in Atlanta. Braselton's got it. Okay, pop these on. Yeah. And
good morning, everybody. So I'm Louis Garofalo. I'm the beverage manager of Chateau Elan, a resort in Georgia, Braselton. I've been in the United States for 5 years now. Started here as a bartender and moved away to the beverage manager right now. Right behind you can see the coffee shop in action with Jody there. Great place, great wine. So we're a resort, but mainly a winery too. Great spirits and wine. Fantastic service, good amenities. We also have spa. So great place to come, spend a good weekend out of the city of Atlanta, busyness, take a good rest.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Louis.
Okay, just full disclosure, I'm a Baptist and I don't drink the wine and spirits here. I just have the lattes and the coffee. So, but they are known for their wine. They got muscadine orchard here. You can walk through them. Hey, EV chargers. I've got my car plugged into the EV charger out here. We'll talk about that with Casey. But first, Nikki Perry, working for the city of Braselton, getting ready for the big 4th of July parade, which I will be in.
Yes, you will.
Welcome, Nikki. Tell our listeners who maybe they've never been to Braselton, tell them a little bit about the city.
We are just north of Atlanta, about 45 minutes. We have about 12,000 residents and growing. We are one of the fastest growing areas in the country and have been for a while now. And we're the home of Chateau Elan. We're so proud to be. We have about 1 million tourists a year, and that's my job as tourism director, is to take care of those visitors. Mainly they're coming to Chateau Elan and Road Atlanta, and they come to all of our events like the big July 4th parade. So we're really excited about the festival coming up this weekend.
Hey, Nikki, I know that you have a couple of fall festivals too, that we attended one this weekend. My daughter bought actually a ring there. She's engaged, and they bought a vintage ring from a group that, that kind of goes to estate sales and things like that. But you have a couple of really big events during the year that attract just thousands and thousands and thousands. Tell us about those.
That's right. Our Braselton Antique and Artisan Festivals, which are hosted by Countryside Antiques, are in downtown Braselton. They have the big festivals in April and October, and then they have several small festivals like the ones that your daughter went to throughout the year, probably 4 or 5 times throughout the year. But those draw tens of thousands of visitors who come to stay in our hotels or just come up from the day, driving distance. And it's really fantastic. About 300 vendors come to those festivals. So it's a big deal here in Braselton, antiquing.
One of the restaurants there, Local Station, is owned by a guy who owns another restaurant, Jack's, just down the street. Both my colleague Chuck Eaton and I just think his steaks there, particularly the ribeye, is the best in all of Atlanta. And I mean, the thing that's really cool about Braselton, it is so close to the expressway. The city center is it's just within a mile of the expressway, so you can be on and off and see all of our quaint restaurants and all of that just very quick if you're traveling up or down, right?
You're absolutely right. And I think the interstate is one of the reasons that Braselton has just exploded with growth, not just with residents, but also with the distribution centers. We have Williams-Sonoma and Amazon, Petco. Lots of the big distribution centers are right there off the interstate because it's so conveniently located. And then, like you said, people love to hop on and hop off, come to our the Braselton Brewing Company, Cotton Calf Kitchen, local station, the Galloping Galette, Blake's of Braselton. Like, we've got some great places that are just, half a mile from the interstate. So it's a great place to stop off.
Like Louis said, I mean, Faith, you've been out here to Chateau Elan, haven't you?
I have, and I have to say, I'm also a Baptist, but I do partake in their wines.
Me too. We've got 3 Baptists on here.
And I love Chateau. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah. So, I mean, just like Louis said, you come out here from the city and it feels like you're in France. And if you watch the Tour de France, now, and Wendy and I watch the extended highlights every night because they're ahead of us. I think they're 6 hours ahead of us. One of the things they do on that coverage is they show you all the different chateaus that the race goes through as it travels through all of France. So it really feels like you're in France when you're out here, doesn't it, Nikki?
It sure does. And that French culture is something that we really want to play up here in Braselton as far as from a tourism perspective. We're trying to host different events and have musicians downtown that kind of capture that French cultural feeling. We have Road Atlanta, which is sponsored by Michelin Raceway. And, that's a French background as well. So we've got lots of little nuances of French culture here that we're really proud of.
And KC and I will talk about the EV fan zone that I do at the Petit Le Mans. First time was last year, but it's a way for us to feature EV. So, Nikki, I will see you Sunday for the parade.
Right.
Thank you. You'll see my little sea turtle car. I'll be walking. My grandson will be in back of it, and we're really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for being on.
Can't wait to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, let's bring in our good citizen. This is Pastor Blake Harmon of Free Chapel Braselton, and Free Chapel has done a lot with the community. Blake, Jensen Franklin, your pastor, I've known him for 20 years, and wow, the church has really grown over the years, different congregations. How is that working out, having video congregations apart from the main church?
It's really been a huge blessing. I think that during the pandemic, we had to make a pivot. Everybody had to make a pivot and a shift in some capacity. But we saw our online congregation multiply extensively. In fact, we had people that began to join in different parts of the world that we never thought was possible. And so what we thought might have been a hindrance actually helped us dramatically. And so it's been a great experience so far, and we're excited for what's going to be taking place in the near future.
Last week on my radio show, I featured a young lady. We normally talk about energy and sustainability, but I kind of pivoted and we gave an award to a young lady for civic leadership. And you guys have worked with a lot of students as well. As you think about this next generation, couple generations coming along, you're a millennial, but I guess the next one coming along, how important is it for churches like Free Chapel to be involved and to kind of helping these young people make sense of things out in culture?
I think that we're seeing a time right now where our students have access to more than we ever thought was possible. There's really nothing outside of their reach. And what we believe at Free Chapel is that whatever our ceiling is, that should be the threshold and that should be the foundation for the next generation. That's why we've implemented conferences like Forward Student Conference, where we see 13,000 young people every single year come to the Infinite Energy Center in Atlanta. And we're excited because in 2022, for the very first time, we're going to be offering it completely for free, no charge whatsoever.
Wow. Faith, there were a lot of groups that kind of helped during the pandemic. And Free Chapel, no exception. The church gave over, $300,000? Is that right?
To other churches, yeah.
Yeah, to other churches that were struggling. And then, 500,000 pounds of food. What was the impetus behind that, Blake?
What we experienced in 2020 was unlike anything we've ever seen before. There were so many churches, and that's the thing where we don't try to just bring people to our church. We want people to be a part of a local church. in Braselton and throughout the state of Georgia. But what we saw were other churches that may not have been as fortunate as us to have a streaming capability to reach people online. And so they were struggling during the pandemic. So to distribute that money to keep their doors open so that they can reach their community as well. But then likely, or just in alignment with that, distributing the 500,000 pounds of food, there were so many people that lost jobs that are trying to provide for their family. And we don't want them just to come to us. We want to come to them. We want to get into the community, and we don't just want to have a presence. We want to have an impact.
Blake, I encounter a lot of people, every day, and they think government is the answer to the social woes that we have in our country. And one of my master's degrees from the University of Georgia is in nonprofit organizations. And obviously, I'm also an ordained minister. I'm founder of Teen Pack, the youth organization that I met Faith in, that's in all 50 states. And I really feel like our churches and our nonprofits, that is the heart of society, right? It's not government. I mean, government does a horrible job to me in showing compassion. It's really not the job of the government to do that. And I think, one of the things I'd love to see is just more civic involvement with people in nonprofit organizations as they help others, and in churches like Free Chapel and others. We have so many good churches all over. Am I wrong here? Are churches better at serving than the government?
I think that looking at our role as the church, I'm talking about the global church, not just Free Chapel, but the global church at hand. It is our responsibility to be as actively involved in our communities as humanly possible. Whereas I said before, I think that you've seen a shift in the last couple decades where there has been a mindset, if I can be honest with you, of a come and see, where we want to create a mentality of go and tell. Get out into the community, serve the people. And you see, you being a Baptist, you understand, you're very knowledgeable in the word. And we believe what you see, the perfect depiction of what Christ gave us, the perfect example, which is to not just preach the gospel, but to live the gospel, to feed those who are hungry, to clothe those who are naked, and to serve those who are in need.
Our next guest, Amy Boney, is our human trafficking advocate spotlight. And I know that the Tesla World Record Parade that I participated in December, Free Chapel was there at the end, helping to run the fundraising arm. And we raised $10,000 that day to fight human trafficking. So I know that Free Chapel is very tuned in to the need to fight human trafficking, and you guys are doing a lot yourselves to help aid organizations, aren't you, Blake?
Yes, sir, absolutely. We are partnering not just locally, but all across the world. And we even our Dream Center the Dream Center in Los Angeles, we're partnering with them as well as here in Atlanta, Georgia. So as we don't want to put any restrictions on our involvement in the community. And so big, small, it doesn't matter. We want to make the impact to see lives changed.
Yeah, well, thanks, Blake, for all you're doing. And I guess I'll see you Sunday in the parade, maybe.
Absolutely. We'll be there.
Look for my sea turtle car. There's no mistaking it. It has a and baby sea turtle, and it says Sea Turtle Transport. And the only thing I'll be transporting in that thing that looks like a sea turtle is my grandson. So he'll be in the back. So Blake, thank you so much. Appreciate all that you do. Faith, why don't you tell us a little bit about Amy's work?
Absolutely. So Amy Boney is the CSEC response team director, right, for CAC Georgia. And Amy, tell us first of all, what does CSEC stand for? And how long has CAC Georgia had this response team?
Absolutely. Thank you all for having us. So CSEC stands for Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children. And we began the response October 1 of 2020, but we actually received a few calls even before that. So towards the end of September is when we were unofficially there, and then we have been live since October 1.
Fantastic. And tell me how you guys at the CSEC response team receive referrals for cases that are suspected commercial sexual exploitation of children.
Absolutely. So we're the new enhanced collaborative model for CSEC response in the state of Georgia. And so our referrals come through a live hotline or a web-based referral system. And we receive referrals from law enforcement, DFACS, the community at large, children's advocacy centers. Anyone can make a report of a suspicion of a child being commercially trafficked.
Okay. And what services do you guys provide, and what happens after you get a referral for a suspect CSEC case?
Sure. So we provide a live 24/7 hotline. It's run through the Cottage, which is one of our children's advocacy centers, one of the 52. They have a historical, beautiful hotline that they've always run. And once that call comes in, it goes through our statewide care coordinator, and she takes care of that pre-screening just to ensure that there's a reason for us to assess the child. And then our regional care coordinators provide all of that intensive assessment. So we have them located throughout the state of Georgia. And they not only complete a commercial sexual exploitation identification tool, which is research and evidence-based, but they research all of the child's history with any agency in the state, sometimes outside of the state. And then they work very closely with multidisciplinary team partners, law enforcement, DFACS, Department of Juvenile Justice. They bring the child to a children's advocacy center. There are, again, 52 in the state of Georgia. Each of them have been well trained to work with CSEC children. So once they go to the Children's Advocacy Center, we complete a forensic interview, a forensic medical exam, a biopsychosocial assessment with the family, and then we determine from all of that information if a child indeed has been the victim of a commercial sexual exploitation. If that child is confirmed, then we complete what's called a RISE plan, Restoring Youth and Stopping Exploitation. And we take the child's voice and make sure that they set their goals and that they have a buy-in in what's happening. The advocates at the Children's Advocacy Centers work very closely with them and their families. We make recommendations to courts in the event that a child needs residential placement for treatment, or if there are more intensive services that are necessary. The advocates at our CACs ensure that the family is getting not only the counseling, the mental health treatment the entire family needs to work through this trauma, very complex trauma, but also to ensure that basic needs are being linked for these families. A lot of our families, food, clothing, shelter, transportation to services, domestic violence assistance, all those services the CACs are coordinating.
Right.
They're really the tip of the spear.
So my understanding is there's kind of a spectrum, right? A lot of the cases that you get may not be a clear case of commercial sexual exploitation, but maybe the child has been abused and you still provide services in that case. Is that correct?
We do. The vast majority of our kids have been confirmed thus far. We have 99 confirmations out of the 400 cases, 460 web referrals that we've received. But they do receive services from a CAC regardless of whether they've been trafficked, if there's another concern for any form of abuse that child needs assistance with.
Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put your website down here scrolling across our screen in case anybody wants to learn more about the CSEC response team, or if you have a suspected CSEC case, you can report it correct on that website.
Yes, thank you so much. And 1-866-END-HTGA is our hotline number.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Amy, thank you for your good work. Well, it's good to have my friend Casey Boyce on. And Casey, I know you're very familiar with all the things that companies can do to enhance the sustainability. And in the $22 million renovation that was done here at Chateau Elan included a replacement of every light bulb to LED. And I'm looking in the beautiful kind of lobby right here, and there must be 100 bulbs just here in the lobby, not counting everything in this massive Versailles dining room here, where they have a great kind of almost like it was an outside space and they glassed in the top, but it was always glassed in, but you feel like you're outside. And then all the rooms, all the conference space, all the spa, I mean, just the lighting alone has to be substantial.
Yeah, LED lighting is fantastic. And this, by the way, is something that people can do in their own homes, right? You don't need to do a 20-something million dollar renovation to do. Not only is the light quality good, but it uses quite a bit less energy. And the other thing that a lot of people don't think about, and this is good because it's summertime, is that, if you think about your incandescent bulbs and, you put your hand near it, you feel the heat coming off, right? Your AC actually has to work harder if you've got incandescent bulbs, and the LED light bulbs don't put out that much heat. I mean, you can put your hand right by it, you really don't feel anything. And so not only does it save a lot of energy on the lighting itself, but it also saves a lot of energy from, not making your AC work as hard.
Commissioner, we built a house last year, finished our house build last year, and all of our lighting in our house is LED. And we also have a small lighting solar system in our shed. We used a small solar panel out there for lighting before we had any power on the property.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, see, your time at the commission hasn't been wasted.
When I put that up, I said, Tim is going to be so proud of me.
Casey, my Chevy Volt is plugged in. Of course, I have a Nissan Leaf as well. My wife is using that today to go to my grandson's, but my Chevy Volt's plugged in here. And then at the Hampton, which is also owned by this hotel group, it's also built in the French style, the chateau style, I guess they call it. I'm not an architect. What do I know? But Georgia Power has a community charging island there, Casey, with a DC fast charger, 2 other level 2s. I choose to use the free electricity here from Chateau Elan. Hey, thank you guys for the free power. Charge here, but they have done just some incredible things, to promote sustainability. And Casey, you remember the conference that we had here, where we did a Southeast Grid conference in EVs.
That's right.
And we invited folks here because, I mean, since that time, Casey, there's been a lot that's happened in this region, the Southeast, hasn't it?
Absolutely. A lot of investment in electric vehicle charging. There's also been quite a bit of investment in electric vehicle supply chain. So the SK Innovations battery plant that's just up the road from Braselton in Commerce, that's supplying batteries for the upcoming F-150 Lightning, their electric truck, as well as some of the electric Volkswagens that are being produced in Chattanooga. Tim, I know that Hampton Inn charger very well. I would stop there regularly on the way to Road Atlanta because taking an EV out on a track really burns through electrons. So you want to start with as full a battery as possible.
Speaking of that, Casey, let's end with mentioning the Petit Le Mans that they're having here. No, they've moved it back to November now, and I think it's November the 8th. Just give you the exact date. It starts on Wednesday, actually, November the 10th. And we will have the EV Performance Corral there. We'll have a solar flower at the front of it. We'll have your EV, my EV, probably 100 others parked there. We'll have a Porsche Taycan, an Audi e-tron. The latest in EV models will be showcased there, not to mention racing going on the track. And seminars that we'll conduct during the race breaks. So it's going to be a fantastic experience. And I don't know, Casey, race, diehard race guys, I think they love the sound, right? That sound is music to their ears. So I think we've got a little work to do there.
Yeah, well, the automakers are trying to put race sounds into their EVs, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Petit Le Mans is a lot of fun. Definitely encourage folks to come up and check it out.
Yeah, and if you're coming, better get your hotel room soon. I will have a camper out there. My son's camper will be there, and so I'll be hanging out there, for 4 straight days. So I just love it. Hey, look, Casey, thank you for being on today, for all your leadership in Georgia and around America in sustainability. Blake, look forward to seeing you. Thanks for the great work at Free Chapel.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and Amy, we feature human trafficking, every week on this broadcast because we need to be thinking about it all the time, don't we?
Commissioner Eccles, the fact that you give us a platform every week is so amazing. Thank you for your service.
Nikki, keep up the great work. You're making Braselton the place people want to be. I love living up here in God's country, and our property backs up to a horse farm that my daughter works on, and we just love being 54.5 miles from the state capitol.
Thank you so much for featuring Braselton on the show this week. We appreciate it, Tim.
Well, I will transition now to the Public Service Commission committees, where we are discussing net metering in Georgia and what that means. So it's going to be a hot topic today. So everybody, thank you for your service to our great state, and we'll see you soon, I hope. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Tim.